G'day legends, and welcome to a journey into the heart of Australia's most enduring mysteries. When you hear about lost cities, your mind probably conjures up images of Atlantis, El Dorado, or perhaps the ancient ruins of Machu Picchu. But what if I told you that Australia, a land often thought of as a young continent in terms of human history, might hold secrets of its own, whispers of forgotten civilizations and submerged metropolises? For decades, the idea of lost cities in Australia has been largely dismissed by mainstream archaeology. The prevailing narrative has been one of nomadic Aboriginal populations, perfectly adapted to their environment, but without the need for large, permanent settlements. However, recent discoveries and a deeper understanding of Indigenous oral traditions are starting to challenge this long-held view, opening up a fascinating new chapter in Australia's ancient past. In this series, we're going to dive deep into the intriguing possibility of Australia's own Atlantis. We'll explore the scientific evidence emerging from beneath the waves, delve into the ancient Dreamtime stories that speak of drowned lands, and examine the controversial theories that suggest a more complex and perhaps surprising history for this vast and ancient continent. So grab a cuppa, settle in, and let's go searching for Atlantis down under. Our journey into Australia's hidden past begins not in dusty archaeological digs, but beneath the waves off the country's vast coastline. Recent scientific breakthroughs have brought to light compelling evidence of extensive landmasses that were once above sea level, teeming with life and, crucially, human populations. We're talking about the northwest shelf of Sahul, a colossal area that connected mainland Australia to New Guinea during the last ice age. Imagine a land nearly 250,000 square miles in size. That's bigger than the entire United Kingdom. This wasn't some barren desert, but a vibrant landscape filled with freshwater lakes, rivers and streams, and even a large inland sea. Scientists now believe this area could have supported a population of anywhere between 50,000 and 500,000 people. This challenges the old notion that early Aboriginal populations were solely nomadic hunter-gatherers, suggesting a more settled and complex society in these now submerged regions. Around 12,000 to 9,000 years ago, as the last ice age ended and global sea levels rose rapidly, much of this land was swallowed by the ocean. This wasn't a sudden cataclysm, but a gradual inundation that forced people to retreat inland. Archaeological findings, including stone tools dating back at least 7,000 years, found off the coast of Western Australia, provide tangible proof of human activity in these now underwater environments. These discoveries are like finding pieces of a giant jigsaw puzzle, slowly revealing the true extent of ancient human habitation on the Australian continent. It's a real eye-opener, showing us that Australia's ancient history is far more dynamic and watery than we ever imagined. What makes the story of Australia's submerged lands even more remarkable is that it's not just a recent scientific discovery. Aboriginal oral traditions have been telling these stories for thousands of years, preserving memories of rising seas and drowned landscapes with astonishing accuracy. These aren't just myths or legends, they're historical accounts passed down through generations, and modern science is finally catching up to what Indigenous Australians have always known. Take, for instance, the stories from around Port Phillip Bay near Melbourne, which tell of the loss of kangaroo hunting grounds to rising waters, or the traditions from the Great Barrier Reef region, where Aboriginal communities speak of times when the reef was dry land connected to the mainland. These oral histories describe landscapes and geographical features that are now submerged beneath meters of water, providing predictions about what archaeologists might find on the ocean floor. The accuracy of these stories is mind-blowing. Some Aboriginal traditions describe rising seas and submerging coastlines as the ice sheets melted, events that scientists now know occurred around 7,000 to 12,000 years ago. This means that Aboriginal oral traditions have preserved accurate historical information for over 10,000 years, making them some of the oldest continuous cultural records on Earth. It's a testament to the incredible strength and reliability of Indigenous storytelling traditions, and it's forcing archaeologists and historians to take these accounts seriously as legitimate historical sources. These stories don't just speak of rising waters, though. They also hint at complex societies, spiritual connections to now-drowned lands, and the profound cultural impact of these ancient climate changes. For Aboriginal communities, these weren't just geographical changes. They represented the loss of ancestral lands, sacred sites, and connections to the dreamtime spirits that had shaped the landscape. It's a poignant reminder that behind every archaeological discovery lies a human story of adaptation, loss, and resilience. While the submerged lands of Sahul capture our imagination, Australia's terrestrial archaeological record is equally fascinating and continues to push back the boundaries of human history on the continent. From the red heart of the continent to its tropical north, archaeological sites are revealing a story of human occupation that stretches back an incredible 65,000 years or more. Let's start with Majedbebe, a rock shelter in Kakadu National Park that has become one of the most significant archaeological sites in the world. This site has yielded evidence of human occupation dating back between 65,000 and 80,000 years, making it not just the oldest known site in Australia, but potentially one of the earliest evidence of modern humans outside Africa. The artifacts found here, stone tools, ochre pigments, and even the world's oldest known axe fragments, paint a picture of sophisticated early humans who were already using complex technologies. But Majedbebe is just the tip of the iceberg. Lake Mungo in New South Wales has given us Mungo Lady and Mungo Man, human remains that are 40,000 to 42,000 years old, including evidence of the world's earliest known cremation. The Blue Mountains have revealed Ice Age occupation sites at high altitudes, showing that Aboriginal people were living in challenging mountain environments 20,000 years ago when the area was treeless and seasonally frozen. Perhaps most intriguingly, recent discoveries have challenged long-held assumptions about Aboriginal technology and lifestyle. The discovery of 3,000-year-old pottery fragments in northern Australia, the oldest securely dated pottery in the country, suggests that Aboriginal communities were experimenting with ceramic technologies much earlier than previously thought. Similarly, evidence from sites like Brewarina shows sophisticated fish trap systems that may be among the oldest human-made structures on Earth. These archaeological discoveries are painting a picture of Aboriginal Australia that's far more complex and technologically sophisticated than the simple hunter-gatherer stereotype that dominated thinking for so long. We're seeing evidence of long-distance trade networks, complex social structures, and innovative technologies that allowed people to thrive in every environment across the continent, from tropical rainforests to arid deserts to alpine regions. Now here's where our story takes a turn into more controversial territory. While mainstream archaeology has been steadily revealing the remarkable depth and complexity of Aboriginal Australian history, there's another strand of claims and theories that suggests Australia may have been visited by ancient civilisations from far beyond its shores. These ideas range from the intriguing to the downright bizarre, but they're worth examining because they reflect our deep human fascination with the idea of lost civilizations and forgotten connections. The most famous of these controversial claims centers around the Gosford glyphs in New South Wales. Carved into sandstone in a remote canyon, these markings bear a striking resemblance to ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs. Proponents argue that they tell the story of Egyptian explorers who became stranded in ancient Australia, possibly 5,000 years ago. The glyphs allegedly describe their journey, their injuries, and their eventual fate in this foreign land. It's a romantic notion that captures the imagination, ancient Egyptians sailing across vast oceans to reach the Australian coast. However, mainstream Egyptologists and archaeologists have largely dismissed the Gosford glyphs as modern forgeries. They point out inconsistencies in the hieroglyphic grammar, anachronistic symbols, and the lack of any supporting archaeological evidence, such as Egyptian artifacts, burial sites, or genetic traces in Aboriginal populations. The consensus among experts is that these carvings were likely created in the 20th century, possibly as an elaborate hoax or artistic project. Similar claims have been made about Phoenician presence in Australia, with some researchers pointing to alleged ancient harbours and mining sites in Queensland. The theory suggests that these master mariners of the ancient Mediterranean somehow made their way to Australian shores 3,000 years ago, establishing trading posts and mining operations. Again, while the Phoenicians were indeed skilled seafarers, there's no credible archaeological evidence to support their presence in Australia. Then there are the Chinese connection theories, which have slightly more historical plausibility, given the geographical proximity and the well-documented Chinese maritime expeditions of the 15th century. Some researchers have suggested that Chinese explorers may have reached Australian shores during the voyages of Zheng He, centuries before European contact. While this is theoretically possible, and there are some intriguing historical maps that seem to show Australian coastlines, concrete archaeological evidence remains elusive. What's fascinating about these fringe theories is not necessarily their accuracy, but what they reveal about our desire to find connections and complexity in Australia's past. They reflect a kind of cultural cringe that suggests Australia couldn't have developed sophisticated societies on its own, that it needed outside influence to be civilized. This completely ignores the remarkable achievements of Aboriginal Australians who developed one of the world's most successful and sustainable civilizations entirely independently. While we've explored some of the more speculative theories about Australia's ancient past, the real excitement lies in the cutting-edge scientific work that's currently underway. Modern technology is revolutionizing our ability to explore Australia's submerged landscapes and uncover new archaeological sites, opening up possibilities that would have been pure science fiction just a few decades ago. Underwater archaeology is experiencing a golden age in Australian waters. Using sophisticated sonar mapping, remotely operated vehicles, and advanced diving techniques, researchers are systematically exploring the continental shelf for signs of ancient human habitation. The discovery of those 7,000-year-old stone tools off the Western Australian coast was just the beginning. Teams are now using predictive modelling to identify the most promising locations for underwater archaeological sites, focusing on areas that would have been attractive to ancient populations, near freshwater sources, in sheltered bays, or along ancient river systems. LiDAR technology is also transforming terrestrial archaeology. This laser-based mapping system can penetrate forest canopies and reveal hidden landscape features, potentially uncovering ancient settlements, ceremonial sites, or even sophisticated agricultural systems that have been hidden for millennia. Recent LiDAR surveys have already revealed complex fish trap systems and what appear to be ancient village sites in various parts of Australia. Genetic research is providing another fascinating window into Australia's past. DNA studies of both ancient remains and modern Aboriginal populations are revealing complex migration patterns, population movements, and even evidence of how ancient communities adapted to dramatic climate changes. This genetic archaeology is helping to confirm and expand upon the stories told in oral traditions, creating a more complete picture of Australia's human history. Perhaps most excitingly, advances in dating techniques are allowing researchers to push back the timeline of human occupation even further. New methods for dating stone tools, organic materials, and even sediment layers are revealing evidence of human presence that's older than previously thought possible. Some researchers are now suggesting that humans may have reached Australia as early as 80,000 years ago, which would make Aboriginal Australians not just the oldest continuous culture on Earth, but potentially among the very first modern humans to leave Africa. The future holds even more promise. Planned underwater excavations off the northern Australian coast could reveal entire ancient settlements preserved beneath the waves. Satellite archaeology is identifying potential sites from space, while artificial intelligence is being used to analyze vast databases of archaeological data to identify patterns and connections that human researchers might miss. What's particularly exciting is how these scientific advances are being combined with Indigenous knowledge systems. Collaborative research projects that bring together Western scientific methods with Aboriginal oral traditions and land management practices are proving incredibly fruitful, revealing insights that neither approach could achieve alone. So why are we so fascinated by the idea of lost cities and forgotten civilizations? What is it about places like Atlantis, or the possibility of an Australian equivalent, that captures our imagination so powerfully? The answer lies deep in human psychology and our relationship with mystery, discovery, and our own place in the grand sweep of history. Lost cities represent the ultimate archaeological treasure hunt. They promise not just material riches, but knowledge riches, the chance to rewrite history books and fundamentally change our understanding of the past. In Australia's case, the idea of submerged cities or forgotten civilizations taps into our sense that this ancient continent must hold secrets we haven't yet discovered. After all, if Aboriginal Australians have been here for 65,000 years or more, surely there must be more to their story than we currently understand. The concept of lost cities also appeals to our sense of environmental fragility and change. The story of Sahul's submerged landscapes serves as a powerful reminder of how dramatically our planet can change and how human societies must adapt or perish. In an era of climate change and rising sea levels, these ancient stories of drowned lands feel particularly relevant and urgent. There's also something deeply romantic about the idea of lost civilizations. They represent roads not taken, alternative histories, and the tantalizing possibility that our ancestors were more sophisticated, more connected, and more adventurous than we give them credit for. The controversial theories about Egyptian or Phoenician visitors to ancient Australia, while lacking solid evidence, speak to our desire to see the ancient world as a more connected and cosmopolitan place. But perhaps most importantly, the search for Australia's lost cities is really a search for a deeper understanding of Aboriginal Australian achievement. The real lost cities of Australia aren't mysterious foreign settlements or mythical Atlantean colonies. They're the sophisticated Aboriginal societies that thrived for tens of thousands of years before European contact. These societies developed complex social structures, sustainable land management practices, sophisticated technologies, and rich cultural traditions that allowed them to thrive in every environment across the continent. The tragedy is that so much of this knowledge was lost during the colonial period. Entire languages disappeared, traditional practices were suppressed, and the oral histories that contained thousands of years of accumulated wisdom were disrupted. In many ways, the real lost cities of Australia are the Aboriginal communities and knowledge systems that were destroyed or damaged by colonization. This is why the current renaissance in Aboriginal archaeology and the growing recognition of Indigenous knowledge systems is so important. We're not just discovering new archaeological sites, we're rediscovering the true complexity and sophistication of Aboriginal Australian civilization. We're learning that the lost cities we've been searching for have been here all along, preserved in oral traditions, archaeological sites, and the living culture of Aboriginal communities. As we reach the end of our journey searching for Atlantis down under, what have we discovered? Well, we haven't found a sunken city with crystal pyramids or ancient temples beneath the waves, at least not yet. But what we have found is something perhaps even more remarkable, evidence of one of the world's most successful and enduring civilizations, one that adapted to dramatic environmental changes, developed sophisticated technologies, and maintained cultural continuity for tens of thousands of years. The submerged lands of Sahul represent a genuine lost world, not in the sense of a mythical Atlantis, but as a real landscape that once supported hundreds of thousands of people and is now preserved beneath the ocean. The archaeological evidence emerging from these underwater sites is rewriting our understanding of early human migration, adaptation, and society. These discoveries show us that the story of human civilization is far more complex and ancient than we previously imagined. The Aboriginal oral traditions that accurately preserved memories of these drowned lands for over 10,000 years demonstrate the incredible power and reliability of Indigenous knowledge systems. These stories aren't just cultural artifacts, they're historical documents that have guided modern scientific discovery and continue to inform our understanding of Australia's past. While the controversial theories about ancient Egyptian, Phoenician, or Chinese visitors to Australia remain unproven, they've served an important purpose in encouraging us to think more broadly about Australia's place in ancient world history. They've also highlighted the danger of underestimating Aboriginal Australian achievements and the importance of recognizing Indigenous knowledge and culture. Looking ahead, the future of Australian archaeology is incredibly exciting. Underwater excavations will undoubtedly reveal more evidence of ancient human habitation on the now submerged continental shelf. Advanced dating techniques may push back the timeline of human occupation even further. Genetic research will continue to reveal the complex story of human migration and adaptation, and collaborative research projects that combine Western science with indigenous knowledge will unlock new insights that neither approach could achieve alone. But perhaps the most important discovery we can make is a renewed appreciation for the remarkable achievement that is Aboriginal Australian civilization. For 65,000 years or more, Aboriginal Australians developed and maintained one of the world's most sustainable societies, one that lived in harmony with the environment while developing sophisticated technologies, complex social structures, and rich cultural traditions. The real lost cities of Australia aren't waiting to be discovered beneath the waves. They're all around us, in the archaeological sites that dot the continent, in the oral traditions that preserve ancient wisdom, and in the living culture of Aboriginal communities. Our job isn't to search for mythical Atlantean colonies, but to recognize, respect, and learn from the incredible civilization that has been here all along. So the next time you look out over the Australian coastline, remember that beneath those waves lies a drowned world that was once home to hundreds of thousands of people. And when you walk through the Australian bush, remember that you're walking through a landscape that has been home to human civilization for longer than almost anywhere else on Earth. That's the real magic of Australia's ancient past. Not lost cities from distant lands, but the enduring presence of the world's oldest continuous culture, right here, right now. The search for Atlantis down under has led us not to a mythical lost city, but to something far more valuable, a deeper understanding and appreciation of Aboriginal Australian achievement and the remarkable story of human adaptation and survival on this ancient continent. And that, I reckon, is a pretty bloody good discovery indeed.